So in this video, I'll be taking you through what happened in the first month of taking CBD oil. But here's some information that you want to consider first though. While I was taking CBD oil, I was also taking sertraline, and I had to speak to my doctor before I started using it, and I suggest that you do the same as well. Now with that said, let's begin, shall we? So firstly, when you're considering taking CBD oil, that you maybe want to do your research first. It's always best to check if the company has certified their product, has had it lab tested, and is on their website to be freely viewed by the public. This ensures safety and quality, as well as the credibility of the company, and that it doesn't have any chemicals or filters, and that it actually comes from hemp and cannabis plants. But there is this misconception with CBD oil that because it comes from cannabis that it gets you high. This is not the case. It really doesn't. It's actually the ingredient in cannabis called THC that actually does that. CBD oil is not psychoactive. It does have an uplifting effect, but it doesn't make you lose control in any way. CBD actually has an effect on something called the CBD oil has an effect on the receptors in the brain called CBD oil has an effect on what's called the cannabinoid receptors of the brain. It doesn't boost the serotonin levels, the feel-good hormone, in your body, but it does boost the way that the receptors respond to it. Which moves me on to... Believe it or not, the answer isn't as simple as you might think. But salad cream boy, you suave and sophisticated recounteur, I hear you ask. What do you mean it isn't that simple? Surely you can't be serious. Well, imaginary viewer, as I use as a prop to prove my point.
I am serious, and don't call me Shirley.
Allow me to illuminate you. See, as I was starting to use it more and more, it started affecting me in different ways. For example... So it's not exactly an instant miracle cure for my anxiety. In fact, the very first day that I actually started taking it, I didn't really notice anything at all. However, that next morning was a bit of a different story. I actually felt pretty good. The thing is, most mornings my chest is usually pounding and I really feel uneasy just here. So the next morning I was surprised that there was actually none of that. To the point I actually just, checked my pulse to make sure. In fact, the next morning after taking the CBD oil, it was actually the first day of work after the weekend, and it's usually then that I start feeling the really bad feel of dread before I have to go to work. And you know what, that really wasn't there either. Well, not that much anyway. Don't get me wrong, it didn't stop me from having all those negative thoughts that I'd usually have throughout the day, like when I had to speak to patients and really have to deal with negative people. But all those physical symptoms, like all the chest pounding, the uneasiness, all those states of panic, that just wasn't really an issue. I wasn't saying it, well, I'm not saying it wasn't completely there, but it wasn't anywhere near as bad as it used to be. Of course, the other thing is, it could have been the fact that when I started taking the CBD oil, that night I had the best night's sleep I had in years. And of course, one of the things about well-being is that when you have a really good night's sleep, you're usually better off the next day. And let me tell you, it can usually take me a good hour to 2 hours to get to sleep, but when I actually took this that first night, I was out in like 30 minutes. And the thing is, all of this lasted a good few days until... So it was really only until about, say, the end of week 3 and maybe the start of week 4 that I really started to notice and think that this stuff is really going to work for me. Don't get me wrong, it's not something that I really want to be using forever, and I definitely want to wean myself off it at some point. I mean, come on, this stuff isn't cheap. But does it work? I'd have to say yes. I mean, at the posting of this video, I'm actually into week 8 at the moment, and I've got to say it's working pretty well. But you might ask, exactly how do I know that it's still working after this long? So the thing is, there have been points where I felt that maybe I don't actually need this anymore, and I decided, okay, I'll stop using it for a day or two. But after those couple of days of not using it, I really did start to feel that my anxiety was creeping back. Not in the way that I was experiencing any kind of withdrawal or anything like you would with a drug like cannabis. It's just like week 2 when I said that I started to feel a lot more anxious again, and it was starting to feel a lot more noticeable with the palpitations and everything. It was just noticeable that it was getting less effective. And in these cases, I'd go back right on it and start to feel a lot better in myself. However, I do feel that I need to make one thing clear. Since week 4, when I hit that sweet spot and I had that kind of dosage where I knew that was going to work, I didn't exactly feel euphoric or anything, or like I did after that first night's sleep, but I definitely feel that I can handle things a lot better than I would have had I not started taking this. I'm not procrastinating anywhere near as much as I used to. For example, before using this, I do things like put off the housework, and to the point that I literally had to get up and do something. Or I put off the grocery shopping until I literally had nothing left to eat and I physically had to go out to feed myself. I literally froze in my chair before I did anything productive. Now I'm actually able to get up and do things without procrastinating so much because of my anxiety. Okay, but you may be thinking, this is all well and good, but... So it has caused me to get dry mouth every so often, especially when I wake up in the morning, but that just forces me to drink a bit more water, which can't be a bad thing, right? Yes, it is something that's annoying, but it's something that's really minor, to be honest. And it can make me feel drowsy from time to time, not to the point that I want to go to bed or anything. I just feel really mellow. But after, say, a cup of coffee or some activity, that just goes away. Again, not a big deal. So the question now is... Yes, I would, but I would have to keep the following things in mind. The first thing to consider is, can you afford it? Yes, your well-being and your mental health is important. Just bear in mind that it is going to burn a significant hole in your wallet. Have I exhausted every other option? Let me be clear on this. There are so many things that your doctor, your GP, especially if you're in the UK, there are so many free things that they can refer you to before you start using this. Self-care activities can be massively beneficial to your mental health, such as a really good regular exercise regime, a good nighttime regime that will allow you to get a good quality night's sleep. A good healthy diet can keep your body in order, and in turn, healthy body, healthy mind, or even actually going outside to get more fresh air than normal. It all helps. And the other thing to consider is, what exactly are you using it for? There are so many applications of CBD oil outside of anxiety and depression, such as, if I didn't hint at this already in this video, it's a great sleeping aid. Honestly, I really did sleep like a baby. It helps with pain, and it also helps with muscle recovery after working out. But you want to ask yourself, is this something that you want to use to just take the edge off? Which it really does. Or are you using this in the hopes that it's actually going to cure your anxiety and depression for the long term? If you can afford it, fine, but it's also something that I really would consult your doctor for first. And this is where I do need to reiterate, it actually works differently for different people, so I would actually not just watch this video but other videos that other people have done as well, just to get a bit more of a picture on what it can do, because it may even have a different reaction for you as well. Hence why I'd say just go to the doctor first, just to, clear up a few things with them. Do all this before making a decision. In the meantime though, if you are still on the fence about taking CBD oil and you want to consider other things first, I have this video right here that you can click on that may be able to help you out with that. Because it's like I always say, at the end of the day, it gets dark.